Hey guys, just wanted to pop on here today and I want to talk a little bit about how our dirty genes can really impact our digestion, contribute to food sensitivities, and impact our overall health. Um, okay, there we go. Sorry, I was having a technical issue. So, yeah, I want to talk a little bit about this topic because it is such a contributing factor to where so many of us are, to how we're feeling, to these symptoms that keep popping up, and especially for those of us who are working really hard and trying a lot of different things and maybe finding little bits of relief, but not truly finding lasting relief and really being able to kind of get ahead and take control of what's going on in your body and with your food sensitivities. But the thing that I really want to emphasize today is that there are so many things we can do to clean up our genes. And so let me talk a little bit about that. Obviously, we have the genes that we're born with, and that's kind of the cards that we've been dealt. But the really encouraging thing is that as they learn more and as we get more into the field of epigenetics, they're learning so much about how we can turn on and off different genes that we have and how those genes express themselves. So, for those of us with gut issues and digestive symptoms and, really any chronic condition, thinking about um, our genes and thinking about this concept of dirty genes and how we can clean up our genes is super important and super valuable, and I think just so encouraging and brings so much hope for a lot of people, because just because you've been given or you were born with certain genes doesn't mean that those genes have to show up in a certain way. So, I want to talk a little bit today about what we can do because, like I said, there's some really powerful things that we can do. And really, it's about supporting our bodies holistically and really figuring out, the foods that serve us well, the foods that trigger us, looking at our stress, figuring out a good balance around like relaxation versus productivity, and and a handful of other things. So I'm going to go a little bit more into those, but I just want to say that this process is so powerful, and we do have so many tools that we can work with and really simple tools, basic tools. They don't have to be expensive. They don't have to, it's not some crazy medication. It's not some like big drastic protocol that you have to go through, but it is a mindset shift, first of all, to really know and believe that we can take control and that we can influence our genes. I don't want to say that we can control everything about how that's going to show up and whether we get sick or not, but there are things we can do um, to influence how our genes are expressed. And some of those things are really basic. So let's kind of walk through those. So, first of all, eating whole foods, eating foods that serve your body well and don't cause inflammation. That's one of the best. And, it's a simple idea. It's not always easy to do, but one of the best and most simple things we can do to really influence how our genes are expressed and to help kind of, what I really want to say is to help kind of optimize the way that our genes are expressed and kind of optimize the way our body can function based on what we are given. The other thing I want to say is that our genes can become dirty. Our genes can become dirty from our lifestyle and the food that we're eating, the things we're putting in our body, the amount of stress we experience, the environment we live in, things like that. So starting with food is always a good place to start. It really does a lot as far as, the toxins that come into our body. You can choose cleaner foods, eat more organic foods. Those things can be really powerful. And then also eating foods that aren't causing inflammation with then also becomes toxic in the body. It's another thing that our body has to deal with and process out. So, this idea of really eating clean food and food that serves you well is super important. So that's a great place to start. Another thing that has to be addressed, as I talked about before, as I've already mentioned, is stress. And, figuring out for each of us a good balance between relaxation and productivity. Some of us, like myself, are super in go mode. And so I have to work to kind of mellow myself out. Other people genetically will be, or if their genes are dirty or uh, not being optimized, they will be more likely to want to maybe sit around or procrastinate, or we all have these tendencies, these kind of built-in tendencies, but there's ways to work with that, and there are strengths in everything that we've been given. So it's a way to build up those strengths, calm down the negative effects of each of these genes, and really optimize our ability to be productive when we need to be, but also to relax and calm down and come into that state. So each of us has to figure out that balance, and that's going to look different for everybody. Same with food. The food that supports us and the food that really serves us well is going to be different for everybody. There's not just a protocol or a one diet that's going to work for each person. It's very individual. So the third thing I want to talk about is learning to check in and listen to our body. And if you've heard me talk before, I talk about this a lot. I think this is the most important thing that we can learn, because that can guide us with what we need as far as food, what we need as far as stress, what we need as far as that relaxation, productivity balance. And the other thing I want to say about this is we change from time to time. So figuring out, for example, from a food sensitivity test, or figuring out what your foods are, is if you figure out what truly serves you and what truly triggers you. So doing an elimination challenge diet, that kind of thing, figuring that piece out is huge. But then you need to know how to check in with your body and really learn to know what you need at different times, because we evolve and we may need different things at different seasons. As women, we might need different things at different times of the month. We do need different things at different times of the month. And, and also through the life stages, what serves our body well and what doesn't can change. So you're the only person that's always with you. And that's why I think that and teach that this is such an important piece. Being able to tune in, know how you're feeling, and then also kind of look at how things are impacting your body. And there's a real practice behind that, and a skill that's developed over time. The more you do it, the more you are able to kind of tune in and say, hey, this is what I need. So that is super, super important. And, again, we're all different. So I just want to point that out as well, that if we are just looking for answers externally, you're going to get a ton of information, and being able to check in and figure out what's right for you is just the most invaluable practice. So the next thing I want to talk about are minimizing toxins coming in. So eating organic food, drinking clean water, cleaning up our environment, especially in your home. That's where we spend most of the time. And also the air, our indoor air is most often more toxic than than what's outside. So unless you live in a big city where there's a really high air pollution level, what's inside is going to be more toxic. And there's a lot of really simple practices around these things. But just being aware of what is around you, and then there's lots of little things we can do to slowly and strategically reduce those things. So any one little thing that you do can shift the amount of stress that's coming in on your body, that's impacting your genes, and that's impacting your digestion, creating food sensitivities, and lending to symptoms. So there's lots of little, and like I said, a lot of them are really simple things as well, and they don't have to be big, expensive things. There are big, expensive things you can do to work with this, but there are really simple and, cheap or free things that can really support us. And then the other piece to this idea of thinking about toxins is that we have this accumulation in our body, and in today's world, this is an issue for all of us. You know, especially with the genes that support our detox pathways and really help with that detoxification. That gene in most of us today is very likely, most likely, to be dirty because we have so many things in our environment, in our food, in our water, stress, all these things that just clog up those symptoms. So, really thinking about detoxification as well can be really powerful. So, not only what's coming in, but also um, what's built up in our bodies over time that we haven't been able to process out. And so that's an important practice as well, because those toxins just kind of linger and, you know, they find a little home in our bodies and can wreak havoc. So it's really important to kind of get some detox practices in place that can help you over time as well. So let's see, we've covered food, stress, listening to your body, and minimizing toxins. And I think I'm going to stop there because those are 4 of the most important things you can do. And along with stress, you know, working on sleep hygiene and things like that. There's lots of things within each of those categories that can happen. And so, you know, so much of what I do is helping people figure out for them what are those puzzle pieces? What's the right combination of these things that can help support your body and that are realistic and reasonable for you to do in your life. You know, I know a lot of the people I talk with and a lot of the clients I work with have tried so many different things and aren't getting anywhere. And so I just wanted to bring some light to this idea that our genes contribute in such a big way to where we're at, and also that it's fascinating and really validating to learn about what we can do. First of all, the role that our genes play in disease and sickness, but also what we can do, and symptoms, but also what we can do to clean those genes up and really have an impact on our overall health and our digestion as a whole. And supporting our bodies holistically in this way, like looking at these different areas, will really help us to get to the underlying causes of what's going on with your food sensitivities. What is it that's really causing these things? And, you know, I don't believe that it's ever just one thing. I think it's a combination of things, kind of creating a perfect little storm in our bodies. And, you know, our bodies just get to the point where they're so overloaded that we can't handle what's coming in. So my approach is really to support the body holistically, and I find that has the most benefit and will help with all these kind of seemingly separate issues that we're having. You know, as you support your body holistically, it will really help you to come back to a healthy balance and to support your digestion, support your genes, support your body as a whole, support your mental health. And, you know, it's really these sustainable shifts and understanding these key steps and these key areas that contribute to not just food sensitivities, but a lot of chronic conditions and this constant ongoing inflammation that takes place in our bodies. So if you want to learn more about that, I offer a free training, and I'll link that below the video. And it dives into the 5 key steps and talks a little bit more in depth about each of these areas that I just mentioned. And then also I do offer a free coaching session if you're really ready for change. I love talking with people about this, and I'd be super happy to take some time to chat with you, and we kind of dive into what your individual challenges are, and then also think about what are the steps that can help you get to where you want to be, to really finding relief. So I will link my calendar below as well as the training. And if you're interested in that, I'd love to chat with you and take that time. And otherwise, have an awesome day, and I'll see you in the next video.